Namaste and welcome to you in my YouTube channel eCourier. Today we are going to discuss about chemistry, the fundamental and very basic chapter of chemistry that we call language of chemistry. So, what is chemistry then? Yes, chemistry is that branch of science which deals with the composition, structure and properties of matter. For example, let us suppose this water is a matter and we know that it is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So, the composition of water is hydrogen and oxygen, isn't it? That means it's composed of hydrogen and oxygen. So, structure means what type of shape that particular matter has, either straight, linear or triangular or any. And properties includes both physical and chemical properties, and under physical properties we study their color, order, state, that means whether it is solid, liquid or gas, melting point, boiling point, solubility, etc. And chemical properties includes its reactions with other different types of compounds. So, in conclusion, the branch of science that deals with the composition, structure and properties of matter is called chemistry. Okay. Now let us start discussing about matter. But before matter, let us talk about universe. What is universe? Universe is a very vast thing. It is the aggregate of anything that has possibility of existence. That means universe is the aggregate of matter, energy and space. That means all the planets, satellites, meteoroids, constellations, stars, everything and other things present in them are the part of matter, universe, part of universe. Universe consists of all kinds of matter, that is solid, liquid, gas, all forms of energy, that is light energy, heat energy, sound energy, electrical energy, magnetic energy, mechanical energy, which further includes potential and kinetic energy, chemical energy, nuclear energy. Every forms of energy are the part of universe. And then matter, energy, and what is left there? Space, vacuum thing, and that is also the part of the universe. So, we can define universe as the aggregate total sum of matter, energy and space. Now, matter. Matter is everything which occupy space and which has certain mass. This water is matter because this water occupies certain space where it is kept. If we keep in a glass, it occupies certain space in glass. If we keep it in bottle, it occupies certain space in bottle. It occupies certain space in river, ocean, anywhere. And it has certain mass. Isn't it? Similarly, air, it is also a matter because it also occupies certain space. If we keep it inside a balloon, it occupies a space equal to the volume of that volume. If we confine it inside the football, it occupies the space equal to the volume of that tube of football, isn't it? And it has also certain mass. In the earlier classes, you may have done the experiment in the two pans of a pan balance. In one of them, if we keep a balloon filled with air, that balance slightly goes down. Then another pan of the balance. That means it has also certain mass. So similarly, we can say this marker is also a matter because it has also certain mass and it also occupies certain space, isn't it? So in conclusion, anything that occupies space and that has certain mass is called matter. Physically, matter is classified into solid, liquid and gas. Nowadays, the fourth state of matter is also explained, but it is studied in higher classes. That is called plasma state. It is also called Bose-Einstein's condensation. It is studied in the higher level, isn't it? So, physically, matter is mainly classified into solid, liquid and gas. That means solid, liquid and gas are three states of matter. If you are asked to tell about the fourth state, that is plasma state. You may be asked in some quiz. Yes, so better to remember the fourth state of matter is plasma state or Bose-Einstein's condensation. Okay. So chemically, matter is classified into two parts, two types. They are pure substance and impure substance. Isn't it? Physically, matter is classified mainly into three types. They are solid, liquid and gas. And chemically, matter is classified into two types. They are one pure substance and another impure substance. Impure substance, which we also call mixture. Isn't it? Now let us discuss about the pure substance. Pure means what? Pure. Nothing is mixed in it. Yes, made up of only one thing. Has its own identity, isn't it? So, pure substance is the substance which is made up of only one kind of matter. Isn't it? That means the substance which is composed of only one kind of matter is called pure substance. For example, water. If there is only water, that means if there is only H2O, that is pure substance. Gold. If there is only gold, nothing is there other than gold, that is pure substance. Similarly, carbon dioxide. If there is only carbon dioxide, CO2, nothing other than that, that is pure substance. So, the substance which is composed of only one kind of matter is called pure substance. Impure substance means, impure means something is mixed there. That means it consists of two or more than two things, two or more than two kinds of matter, isn't it? That is impure substance. Yes? Okay. Now, pure substance is further divided into two types, elements and compounds. Isn't it? Pure substance is further divided into two types. They are elements and compounds. So, I think before that we have to finish this and we will go to elements and compounds. So, as I have already told you that impure substance is the substance which is composed of two or more than two kinds of matter in any proportion by weight. It is not necessary that we have to mix in equal amount. They may be in any proportion, in any amount by weight. For example, sugar solution. Sugar solution is impure substance because it is prepared by mixing two matter, sugar plus water. It is not compulsory that the amount of sugar and water should be equal. We can mix in any amount. So sugar solution is impure substance, or we also called mixture. And those substances which are combined, which are mixed to make a mixture are called components or particles of mixture. Particles of mixture. That means in sugar solution, sugar and water are two components or two particles of mixture. Okay. So the substance which is composed of two or more than two kinds of matter mixed in any proportion by weight is called impure substance or mixture, and mixture is further classified into two types: homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. The two types of mixture are, one is homogeneous mixture and another is heterogeneous mixture. Now let us discuss about homogeneous mixture. Homo means same, similar, yes, uniform. That means homogeneous mixture means that type of mixture in which the components or particles of mixtures are uniformly distributed, finely distributed, so that we cannot see those components separately by our naked eyes. Such mixture is called homogeneous mixture. For example, in sugar solution, can we see sugar separately and can we see water separately with our naked eyes? No. We can see them only with the help of highly powerful microscope, isn't it? So we cannot see them with our naked eyes. We cannot see the components with our naked eyes because those components are very uniformly distributed. Such mixture is called homogeneous mixture. Similarly, air consists of different types of gas, dust particles. Yes, air consists of hydrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, other inert gases, nitrogen in the largest amount, isn't it? But in air, we cannot see those particles separately because they are very uniformly distributed, isn't it? Such mixture is called Ketan. Such mixture is called, that is called homogeneous mixture. Other examples of homogeneous mixture is mixture of petrol and kerosene, different alloys, isn't it? Alloys. Different alloys are also the example of homogeneous mixture because alloys are the mixture of different metals or metals with non-metals. But after making alloy, we cannot see the combining metals or non-metals there in alloys. So they are what? Homogeneous. Alloys are homogeneous mixture. Okay. Now heterogeneous mixture means the mixture in which the combining particles are not uniformly distributed and can be seen by our naked eyes is called heterogeneous mixture. The mixture in which the components or particles of mixture are not uniformly distributed and can be seen by our naked eyes are called heterogeneous mixture. For example, mixture of rice and sand, yes, In rice and sand, the rice and sand particles are not uniformly distributed and we can see them by our naked eyes. Similarly, the mixture of water and oil, isn't it? The mixture of maize and wheat, these are the examples of heterogeneous mixture. Okay. Now let us go to classification of pure substance. I have already told you that pure substance is further divided into two parts. They are elements and compounds. Okay. Now elements. Okay, elements. Element. So before going to discuss about element, let me discuss some things related to it. So what is the basic structural and fundamental unit of life? That is obviously cell. Cell is the basic structural and fundamental unit of life, isn't it? Similarly, what is the building block or basic unit of making any building? Obviously brick or stone. Yes. So similarly, element is also the basic building block of any kind of matter, any kind of substance. And it is obviously pure substance. That means an element is the pure substance which can neither be created nor be destroyed by any ordinary, any normal physical or chemical methods. Isn't it? The simplest form of pure substance which can neither be created nor be destroyed by any ordinary physical or chemical methods is called element. That means element is the simplest, means it is the foundation, building block of any matter, isn't it? And it can neither be created, we cannot create it, and we cannot destroy it also by any simple, any normal, any ordinary methods. That is elements. And according to the latest data, there are 118 elements discovered till now, isn't it? Out of which 92 elements are natural elements, they are found in the nature, and remaining elements are artificial elements, isn't it? Okay. So elements, I hope you are clear. The simplest form of pure substance which can neither be created nor be destroyed by any ordinary physical or chemical method is called element. It means element is the building block of any matter, isn't it? Element is the building block of any matter. Till now, about 118 elements are discovered, out of which 92 elements are natural elements. You may be asked in very short question sometimes, how many elements are found in nature? That is, 92 elements are found in nature, and remaining elements are synthesized in the laboratory by series of chemical reactions. For example, radium. Radium is an artificial metal, element, isn't it? It is made by the team of Madame Curie. Okay. Metals are further divided into three types. Elements are further divided into three types: metals, non-metals, and metalloids. So let us discuss them one by one. So let me write name of some elements and separate them whether they are metals or non-metals. Carbon, yes, carbon, okay, fluorine, sodium, magnesium, okay, calcium, okay. Can you say by seeing whether the given elements are metals or non-metals? Is carbon metal or non-metal? Is fluorine metal or non-metal? Is sodium metal or non-metal? Can you say by seeing them? Maybe not. But when you discuss the definition of metals, non-metals and metalloids, you can see them by seeing them. Okay, you can say them by seeing their name. Okay, metal. So, metal. So, I would like to request you all to read the name of first 20 elements with their symbol because you should know them for the whole chemistry. You should say what elements belongs to atomic number element, sodium, what is its symbol, Na, like that. The name of first 20 elements is the very basic and essential thing in the chemistry. Without knowing them, you cannot do good in chemistry. Let me say it is almost impossible to understand the chemistry. So, you should know the name of first 20 elements with their symbol and atomic number to which they belong. Okay, metal. Metals are electropositive elements which are usually good conductor of heat and electricity. So what is electropositive then? Electropositive. Electropositive means they develop positive charge by losing electrons, isn't it? Lose electrons, loss electrons to form positively charged ions. Ions will you may have studied in earlier classes also, and we will discuss in this chapter also. Ions means charged particles which are formed by losing or gaining electrons by atom of atoms. Okay, let me take one example of sodium. See, sodium is the element that belongs to atomic number 11, and when we do its electronic configuration, it becomes 2, 8 and 1. Yes, that means this sodium lose 1 electrons and forms positively charged ion, minus 1 electrons and form positively charged ion. That means it is electropositive in nature, so it is metal. Let us take another example of fluorine. Fluorine belongs to atomic number 9, 2, 7. That means it gains 1 electron to become stable. It has 7 electrons in its outermost orbit, and to become stable it has to maintain 8 electrons in its L cell. So it gains 1 electron to become stable. That means fluorine lost 1 electron, F minus. That means it is electronegative in nature. It is non-metal. So those electropositive elements which are usually good conductor of heat and electricity are called metals, isn't it? That means metals have usually less than 4 valence electron, up to 3 valence electron. That means in outermost shell, metals have usually either 1, 2 or 3 valence electrons. But remember, although hydrogen and helium have less than 3 valence electron, they are not metal. isn't it? Hydrogen is non-metal and helium is inert gas. Okay. Non-metal, those electronegative elements which are usually bad conductor of heat and electricity are non-metals. That means non-metals have more than 3 valence electrons, 4, 5, 6 and so on, isn't it? 7. So that they gain electrons from electronegative ion. So this is the way to identify whether the given elements are metal or non-metal, isn't it? For example, magnesium. Magnesium belongs to atomic number 12. 2A2 is electronic configuration. So as it has 2 electrons in its valence shell, it loses 2 electrons. And if it loses electrons, it becomes positively charged ion or it forms electropositive ion, and electropositive ion forming elements are the metals. So this is the way of separating metals and non-metals. Okay. So in conclusion, metals are electropositive elements, non-metals are electronegative elements. They lose electron, they gain electron. They have less than 4 valence electron. That means 1, 2, 3 valence electron. They have more than 3 valence electron. 4, 5, 6, 7. Isn't it? Now compounds. Compound is also pure substance. Isn't it? Compound is also pure substance. But it is that type of pure substance which is formed by combining 2 or more than 2 elements in a fixed proportion by weight. The pure substance which is formed by combining 2 or more than 2 elements in a fixed proportion by weight is called compound. For example, water is a compound. See, water is a compound and its molecular formula is H2O. That means it is made up of 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atom. Always one compound, 1 unit of water always consists of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. That means its proportion is always fixed. So compound means the pure substance which is formed by combining 2 or more than 2 elements, atoms of 2 or more than 2 elements in a fixed proportion by weight. So some people may confuse about mixture and compound, isn't it? No need to confuse, because mixture is impure substance, compound is pure substance. Mixture consists of 2 or more than 2 matter in any proportion by weight, but compound consists of 2 or more elements in fixed proportion by weight. Okay. On the basis of source and their composition, whether carbon is the basic element or not, compound is divided into 2 types, organic and inorganic compounds, which we study in a separate chapter. And on the basis of nature of bond present in them, compound is further divided into electrovalent and covalent compound, which we study in the same chapter later. Now metalloids. Metalloids are neither metals nor non-metals. They are such elements which show the common properties of both metals and non-metals. Some properties are like metals, like that of metals, and some properties are like that of non-metals. So, those elements which show the properties of both metals and non-metals are called metalloids. For example, Metals are good conductor of heat and electricity. Non-metals are bad conductor of heat and electricity. But metalloids are poor conductor of heat and electricity. They allow the electricity to pass through them in very little amount. Similarly, the examples of metalloids are antimony, arsenic, bismuth. These are some examples of metalloids. Okay. So now we have some more terms to define. Okay. Molecule. Molecule is the smallest form of pure substance which can exist independently. That means it has its own existence. Yes, the smallest form of pure substance that can exist independently is called molecules. Isn't it? Molecules may be of two types: monoatomic molecule and diatomic molecule. Yes, if there is only one atom of element, that is monoatomic molecule. For example, Ca, calcium. Yes. Similarly, sulfur. Yes, aluminium. These are the etc. are the example of monoatomic molecule because they have only one atom. See, one calcium atom, one sulfur atom, one aluminium atom. Is that it? So diatomic elements are those, diatomic molecules are those molecules which consist of two atoms. There are 7 diatomic molecules. We have to remember them. H2 hydrogen molecule, N2 nitrogen molecule, O2 oxygen molecule, F2 fluorine molecule, Cl2 chlorine molecule, I2 iodine molecule, Br2 bromine molecule. You must remember them because in the day ahead when we are practicing the chemical reactions, we need to write them in the diatomic form because they are diatomic molecules. We have to remember them. Isn't it? For example, see, calcium combines with oxygen to give calcium oxide. Isn't it? We have written calcium only one here because it is monoatomic. Isn't it? But we don't write O. Instead, we write O2 because it is diatomic. So this we'll study in the days ahead. Okay. Now atom. Atom. It is the smallest part of element that take part in chemical reaction. Isn't it? The active part of element which participate in chemical reaction is called atom. Isn't it? The smallest form of element that take part in chemical is called atom. See, we say hydrogen combines with oxygen to give water. That means hydrogen and oxygen are elements, but the elements itself does not undergo the reaction. There is very active and smallest part inside the element, that is called atom, which take part in the chemical reaction. Isn't it? Example are, this is sodium atom. Yes, fluorine atom, and if you write F2, that is fluorine molecule. This fluorine atom cannot exist itself independently or alone. So it combines with immediately another fluorine atom and forms F2, that is fluorine molecule. It has independent existence, so it is diatomic molecule. But this sodium atom and sodium molecule has same symbol, isn't it? Because sodium, it can exist alone also. Okay. Similarly, calcium atom. These are the examples of atoms. Yes, atoms. Okay. Now, once again, I would like to request you that you should know the name of first 20 elements with their symbol and atomic number. Isn't it? For example, hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, and calcium. You should be able to tell which element belongs to which atomic number. Isn't it? With their symbol. For example, if I ask you what is the atomic number of sulfur, you should be able to tell 16. To which number oxygen belongs, you should be able to tell 8. And which elements belongs to atomic number 19, you should be tell potassium, like this. It's very essential, because without knowing this, we cannot learn chemistry properly. It's the foundation, very basic thing of chemistry. Because if we know this, we can know valency, isn't it? We can know the group and period in the modern periodic table. For doing electronic configuration also, we need to know them. So this is, I request you to learn them for many times and get ready for that. Okay. Now, atomic structure. Atomic structure. Yes. So atomic structure means structure of atom. Yes. So let me make one atomic structure here. See, of sodium. This is sodium, nucleus of sodium. Let me make a bit bigger. So, this is atomic structure of sodium, and these are electrons. Atomic structure of sodium. See, an atom mainly consists of two parts, nucleus and extranuclear part. Nucleus and extranuclear part. See, this central part of an atom is nucleus. It is the dense and massive part of the nucleus, and this part consists of protons and neutrons, and protons are positively charged particles and neutrons are charged less particles, isn't it? Protons are positively charged particles which are found inside the nucleus, whereas neutrons have no charge. They are charged less particles. They are also found inside the nucleus. So how do we define the nucleus? Nucleus is the centrally located dense part of an atom. So beyond nucleus there is extranuclear part. An extranuclear part consists of, see, cell or orbit. See, this we call cell, SHELL, cell, orbit, and sometimes energy level also. That means the circular path around the nucleus for revolving electrons, isn't it? For revolving electrons is called cell, and cell are denoted by K, L, M, N, and so on, isn't it? The innermost cell or the cell closest to the nucleus is K cell, and then L cell, M cell, and so on. And the electron, see, this outermost cell is called valence cell or valence orbit. So you may be asked, what is valence cell? That means the outermost cell present in an atom is called valence cell, and the electron present in the valence cell is called valence electron. How many valence electrons are there in the sodium? One valence electron, because there is only one electron present in the outermost orbit. See here, in K cell 2 electron, L cell 8 electron, and M cell 1 electron, isn't it? So I hope you got some idea about the basic chemistry. We have not finished this chapter. We need to go through one more video, but to motivate me and to encourage me to make that video, I would like to request you to subscribe my channel, press the bell icon, and comment and like my video. Okay, thank you.